Hello, my awesome 5th grade artist. Today we're going to be starting a new project. We're going to be creating graffiti art, and we're going to be using words. Our graffiti is going to be made up of one word that you get to choose. And teachers, before you start this lesson, you show the students the YouTube video Street Art Behind the News, and then we'll talk a little bit about Banksy. So in the teacher's lesson plans, I have this picture. This is by an artist named Banksy. And Banksy is a British street artist. Britain is in the country of England. And he's an artist and an activist whose anonymous identity and signature style, stencil style, have made him an international star. He has this stencil style because this little girl, it's very much like what he does in a lot of his art pieces. So he probably created this in his studio, this stencil. And a stencil's where areas are masked out. And so then when he goes on site to do the painting, he can spray paint the black on there or paint the black on there, and it'll show through the stencil. And so that's kind of how his style looks. And he's anonymous. And when we say anonymous, we mean that nobody's ever seen Banksy. And so nobody knows if Banksy's a man or a woman. Oftentimes people will refer to him as a man, and I have done that in my lesson plans, but we really just don't know. And so his work will just pop up one day somewhere on the side of a building, and everybody recognizes it because it looks like Banksy's stuff, and they know that he did it. But when he very first started being an artist in 1974, he was a graffiti artist, and he would do stuff that kind of looks like this. And now his style has just evolved as he's gotten older, or she, we don't quite know. But we're going to be creating a graffiti style word, and you're going to get to choose the word. I wanted to show you this. This is in your lesson plans, teachers, and you can put this up on your board for this, or pause it right here for the students to see. But these are some examples. Now, for yours, I wouldn't do the ones that have 2 words. And I would keep the word pretty small, guys. I wouldn't go over 4 or 5 letters. This word street has 6 letters. It's the biggest one on here. I wouldn't go much bigger because you've got to have room to fit it on your paper. Think about words that you like, maybe a word that's special to you. Or you could do like a sound, like boom, pow, pop. Those are all really good words. So you also, teachers, may want to get the word approved with your student before they put it on here. That may be a good thing to do. And I also encourage that they practice drawing this on a piece of copy paper. I've sent you copy paper before. That would be another way of approving their word before they put it on their good paper. Okay, so we're going to begin. I'm going to show you how to draw the bubble lettering for your word. And another thing that I've included in the lesson plans, teachers, is this, and it kind of shows some ways of achieving these bubble, or these are more block, that's more of a bubble letter. The students can kind of choose what they want to do there, which way they want to go with that. I'm doing bubble. And so you're going to start with your paper. Like I said, give them a piece of copy paper to practice with first. And I'm going to start with my good paper though. But when you get ready to start on your good paper, you're going to turn it sideways, horizontally, the long side going across like this. And you need to think about the placement of your word. I'm doing the word art. It has 3 letters. And I still need to leave room for this background because you're going to put a background around your word. This looks like a splat. So think about that. Think about leaving room for it. You can use your finger to kind of trace your letters out to get an idea of where it's going to go. My word only has 3 letters, and R is the middle letter. So I know that the R needs to be sort of in the middle and the A and the T on either side. Now, another thing, when you draw this, it's very, very important that you draw lightly with your pencil. I'm not going to draw lightly because I want it to show up on the video. But if this were really me without a camera, I would be drawing very lightly because you're going to have to erase a lot of lines later. So that's very important. So when we start, I'm just going to start by drawing the letters just like they are printed, just in regular print letters. So I'm going to make an A. And remember, I'm not completely filling up the page because I'm going to put that big splat back here. A. My R, I'm leaving a little space because I've got to have room for those bubbles that's going to go around it. R, You want to write neatly, and my T. Do this on copy paper first and practice. Okay, now it's time to add the bubbles. And I want you to see kind of what we're doing here. We're going to go around every line we've made with this bubble. And then later we'll erase all the middle stuff. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top, and I'm just going to make, now if you want to do block, you'd make like a block around it. But I'm doing a bubble. It's going to get skinny as it comes to the top because my A comes to a point. And then I'm going to make the middle part. I'm just overlapping all of my lines right now because, like I said, we'll erase later. Making these oblong bubble shapes. The R's tricky. It's just going to kind of come around like that. I mean, the curve of the R. And then my T. Okay, so that's kind of what it's going to look like, but you really need to try to draw even lighter than that. Then you're going to take your eraser and you're just going to erase all that stuff in the middle. So do the best you can with the erasing. If you don't get it erased perfectly, it's okay, because you're going to use colored pencils later to do your shading on here, and it'll cover that up. But try to draw as light as you can so you don't have to worry about that showing through. Just using the corner of my eraser and getting all those middle lines erased. Okay. Now, when the students are practicing on their copy paper, really all they need to do is practice doing the word with the outline of the word. They don't need to practice coloring. Just see that they know how to draw their word and see what their word is before you move on to the next step. So I'm just going back over this now. I've done my erasing. I'm kind of re-outlining this a little darker so you can see it, so it shows up. But you see how now I've got this nice word, art, in bubble letters. And doing it this way is a little easier than trying to just freehand it. But if you have a different way that you do your graffiti art words, that's okay. You don't have to do yours just like mine. Okay, so now the next step will be to add Sharpie. I like to use this thicker Sharpie because I like some good thick black lines that stand out, but you'll just go all around it, just those outer edge lines, outlining it very neatly. I'm also going to show you how to do some shadowing with the Sharpie. Can't wait to see all the words that y'all come up with on this project. Okay. One more. Now I've got the word art, really nice. And I'm also going to go ahead and do my splat behind it. So I'm just going to go around with these wavy lines. Now you don't have to do a splat. You could do like a zigzaggy background. I also, in the lesson plans, included this. These are some other background ideas for you. So teachers, you could pause the video right here or put this on your Elmo. It's also included some other little things you could include. I'm going to do that, and then on mine, I made these extra little splats that I'll cut out later. I'll color and then cut out later, so it kind of looks like paint is just splatting and dripping all over the place here. So I made some of those. And then we'll outline all that with our black Sharpie. Take your time so everything looks really nice and neat. Because remember, I put these on our Sonia so your family and friends can see this. And then sometimes stuff gets selected to go to the art show. So you want to try to do a really good job. Okay, now we're going to start coloring with colored pencils. So I'm going to show you how to do this with a gradient. So look at mine, and you see how my letters all start out kind of a darker shade of color and they get lighter as they get higher. That's called a gradient of colors, where the color gradually changes. I'm going to show you how I do this. So I start at the bottom, and I've got this purplish blue down at the very bottom, and I'm going to start down here, and I'm just coloring. Remember, when we color, we go in the same direction like a ladder. So you see I go all the way across. I'm pressing down hard right now, and it's making it dark. But as I go up, I'm going to start now pressing down lighter. Can you see how that's changing? I'm just going across, doing my ladder. I'm getting lighter and lighter as I go up. Let me make this side match. Dark, dark, pressing down. The harder you press down, the darker it will be. And then as I get higher, I'm getting lighter and lighter. Until I get really light going up this way. But we're going to bring some other color in. I'm just really lightly putting my blue now. Okay. Now I'm going to take a lighter shade of blue. That one's not sharp enough. And I'm still going to go over some of this down here. I'm pressing down hard now. But now I'm changing. It's changing the color a little bit. See how that's adding to that blue we already put down? And do you see how you're starting to see a gradient? Get back down here. Pressing down harder and then lighter as you get towards the top. Okay, and I think I want even a little more gradient. So I'm going to see about, where is my purple? I think I'm going to come in with some purple down here. So it has a little bit more shading in there of different colors. And again, it gets lighter as it goes to the top. Okay, do you see how I made a gradient? So on these other ones, I did pretty much the same thing. I started with some dark red. I started adding orange and then yellow. I did green, got lighter, and in your colored pencils, you have dark and light green, and then I even added some yellow up there for a yellow green. So you'll do all of your word part with colored pencils. But when it gets time to do your splat, we're going to do those with markers. And the way I did my splat, I outlined with 2 different colors, and then I did it all yellow back here. So I'm going to start with just this hot pink color. And I like to turn it, to get a wider line, you can kind of turn your marker on its side. You see how I'm doing? And you get a wider line. I'm not going to go all the way around this, but you get the idea. So I'd go all the way around, and then I even took a different one. You could take whatever color. I'm going to take a darker pink, and you see how I'm going around this. Now, you do yours how you want. Yours doesn't have to look like mine. I'm just showing you what I did. When you get ready to color in your solid area, though, if you're doing that, like I have just this solid yellow, using a marker is the same, very similar. So you can do like this and go, I'm going to go up like I'm doing a ladder, going across. You can also do markers like this, where you make, I'm holding on the side, and you make lines that go up and down like that. The whole point of it is keeping your marker going in the same direction. So we don't want to be doing all kinds of crazy ways. You'll get a lot of white gaps, but this just makes your color look really nice and solid and neat. So you just go all the way up to your letters like that, up to that Sharpie, going across like you're climbing up a ladder. Okay, color that, and I even colored my splats. And then the next step is you're just going to cut it out. So you're going to cut out all of that. I cut my little splats out individually, and I glued it on my black paper. Now here, I wanted it to look like there were some holes in my splat. I didn't cut that out. I colored that in with black Sharpie, and that's how I got that. So I could have just left it all yellow, but I kind of wanted it to have that effect that you're seeing some of that black paper through it. But it would have been really hard to cut these out with scissors since they're in the middle. So I just added these with black Sharpie. So you get to decide. I want you to be very creative, come up with something really fun, and I can't wait to see them. And I'll see you next time. Bye.